Hey there everybody, so it's that time of year again. The shorts are on, the legs are out, the health and safety warning is now in effect, but hopefully the car I've got this week will be more of a distraction for you, as it is the Seat Ibiza FR Sport. It's hard to believe that the Seat Ibiza was first launched back in 1984 and yours truly was just a mere 2 years old at the time. Yes, I really am that young. I've just had a very difficult and hard life. Unlike the Ibiza, however, which has been going from strength to strength and is the Spanish brand's best-selling car but also their longest running car, with over 5.5 million units sold to date. Now, this Mark V version might look like an evolution of the Mark IV, but it's actually an all-new car, and it does feature Volkswagen Group's latest chassis, the MQB A0, which features alongside the Arona, and if you want to see that review, click up in the top right-hand corner now, but also with the Volkswagen Polo and the Volkswagen T-Cross. So I've had the Ibiza for a week to see if it can finally compete with the likes of the Volkswagen Polo, but more importantly, Britain's best-selling car, the Ford Fiesta. Now, I may have said that the Nissan Micra is the best-looking car in this segment. However, I'm going to have to retract that statement because I think that the Seat Ibiza in this FR Sport trim, well, it's just bloody gorgeous. I love the FR styling pack with the aggressive front end and rear. Okay, those exhaust tips are fake. Come on, say it, let's get some real ones in there. But the Ibiza just oozes presence. And with the FR Sport, you do get contrasting wing mirror covers. You've also got full LED headlights with the daylight running LEDs, and they double as indicators as well for a very distinctive look. And on this FR Sport version, you do get those gorgeous 18-inch alloy wheels, which look quite AMG-esque, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just a very gorgeous looking car, and even in this urban silver, which isn't really my favourite colour, it just works really well for the car. I don't think you could go wrong with the colours on the Ibiza FR Sport. But let me know what you think. Don't just rely on my opinion. Let me know in the comment section below, or click in the top right hand corner and let me know what you think is the best looking car in this class. Is it the Seat Ibiza FR Sport, the Nissan Micra, the Volkswagen Polo, or the Ford Fiesta? So click up there and have a quick vote. But yeah, I think that the Seat Ibiza FR Sport is absolutely stunning, but let's not look at the outside anymore. Let's have a little look on the inside. So sat in the FR Sport, the first thing we need to address are these seats. They're absolutely brilliant. I love the design of them. They're not too sporty, but they are as comfortable as they look. And I love the choice of materials used with the leatherette and the suede on the centre sections. They even hold a big bear like me in place, and I know I could do a long journey in the FR Sport and come out the other end with no backache. There's plenty of adjustment in the driver's seat, and you can get the perfect driving position because the steering wheel has both rake and reach adjustment, so that is ideal. Now, when it comes to the interior design of the FR Sport, it is very similar to that of the Arona. And again, if you want to watch my review, click up in the top right-hand corner. But for the FR Sport, you do get some sporty extras with it. So you've got this leatherette on the centre section here with the contrasting red stitching. It does work to give a more sporty feel. You've got a leather-bound steering wheel with the flat bottom, again with some contrasting red stitching, and a little FR badge on the bottom. And if you need to ask, FR stands for Formula Racing. Just like the Arona, you do get an 8-inch touchscreen as standard, and it is nice and clear and easy to use when on the move, thanks to some shortcut buttons on the outer edges and a little rotary dial to help navigate through the menus. It's lovely and clear, and it's arguably one of the best systems out there. A nice welcome addition is that you do get dual zone climate control, and that's standard on the FR Sport. Now, on the Arona, you did have the wireless charging and a little recess where your phone will sit, and 2 USB ports. Now, you do get a little recess here. It's not the same as the Arona. You can put an iPhone in there. Now, I've got a 7 Plus and it fits absolutely fine. However, if you want to charge your phone using the 2 USB ports, it does mean though, however, the phone will kind of be lifted up and not sitting flush in that recess. So that is something to think about when the kind of facelift comes, if they can make the recess a little bit bigger, as phones are getting bigger as well. You do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, so that again is nice and welcome here on a car of this class. Cubby spaces are pretty good as well. You've got decent sized door bins for some bottles of water. You've got some cup holders here next to the handbrake, a little recess where you can put I don't know, some change or some coins, and then a little extra cubby bit on the back here. So there is no armrest in which to kind of rest whilst you're on a long journey. The glove box is of a decent size. I mean, it's got the manual and an SD pack in there, but you should be able to chuck a few extra bits in. Now, I have been putting it off because the absolute brilliant highlight to the FR Sport is the digital dashboard. That is standard on this car. It's a 10-inch display. Audi has rights to the 12-inch because they like being a little bit bigger, but it is incredibly crystal clear, and it's the same system you get on Volkswagen and also on Skodas. You do have a number of views you can go through, so you can have some normal kind of old-fashioned dials. You can have what looks to be like a bespoke setting for a Seat, where you have the rev counter and also the speedometer on the outer edges, very much like what you get in Peugeot and also on BMW's new virtual cockpits. And then you can also have, just like on the other systems, the sat-nav dominating the screen, which does help when you are navigating. I will mention though that if you have got, for example, Apple Maps or Google Maps through Apple CarPlay working, they won't come up on that digital dashboard, so just be aware of that. But that is a huge welcome addition, and it gives the Ibiza FR Sport a real premium edge in this segment. Only really the likes of the Audi A1 and the Volkswagen Polo have that same type of dashboard, but you do have to pay for it. So yeah, I am thoroughly impressed with the interior of the Ibiza FR Sport. But that's enough with the front of the car. Let's go and have a sit in the back. So, sat in the back of the FR Sport, things aren't really that good back here. So firstly, that driver's seat is set to my driving position. I'm 5'7" tall and 5'7" wide, and as you can see, I've got an okay amount of knee room, but headroom is actually quite tight, and if I sit up straight, I can actually touch the ceiling. So 6-footers will definitely not be comfortable back here. You have got the same quality of materials, however, so you have got the suede on the centre sections and leatherettes abound as well, and that is very welcoming. Now, you've also got Isofix on the outer seats, but getting access to them actually seems quite difficult, and it kind of feels like you've got to tear a bit of fabric in order to get access to them, so that's a little bit disconcerting. But there are some nice features. You have got some good sized door bins, and there are these little hooks here to keep the seatbelt in place whilst you get the seats down. Now, although this is a 5-seater, I would probably recommend looking at the Ibiza as more of a 4-seater, because anyone sat in that middle seat, particularly someone with my size on the outer seats, they're definitely going to feel the pinch. You have got some welcoming features. You have got tinted windows as standard, however, they're not electric. You do have workout windows, and I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm banging the side of my hand on the handle when lowering the when working the windows. So yeah, that could be quite painful if you have to do it a lot, particularly as summer is here. And the windows themselves don't go all the way down, so you can't really rest your hand on the edge. But other than that, if you're doing some short journeys, you should be okay. And the windows themselves are actually of a good size, and you do have a bit of additional windows in the C-pillars to aid for the driver for visibility, but also allow a little bit of extra lighting. So yes, it's not as good as some of its rivals, but it's okay for short journeys. But now that's the rear seats done, let's have a little look at the boot.
So opening the boot of the Seat Ibiza presents you with 355 litres of space, which is actually very good for a car in this class. However, what it provides you with boot capacity, you do lose out in features, as you don't even have a 12-volt socket, just a couple of tethering hooks. You can have a space saver spare wheel if you want to, but there's actually a substantial load lip if you want to load any heavy items in. And if you want to put any large heavy items in and get the seats down, there's actually a bit of a step at the base of the seats. So just be aware of that if you are loading any large heavy items. But all in all, it is very spacious and will do you very well.
So first impressions of the Ibiza once you get driving is just how easy it is to drive. All-round visibility is actually very good as well. You've got some reasonably thin A-pillars, and looking over your shoulder, because of those extra windows in the C-pillar, it does mean you've not got too much of a blind spot. The wing mirrors are of a good size and shape, and they do actually suit the nature of the car, being quite sporty looking, but they don't actually give off any wind noise, and that was a pleasant surprise. So it does boost for the refinement of the car. And yes, these seats are incredibly comfortable, and I just know I could do a long journey in this car and come out completely relaxed and happy on the other side. It's a brilliant first impression to have when you start driving the Ibiza. So engines wise, you've got the choice of 2 petrols and 1 diesel. The petrols are both 1 litres and they are 3-cylinder turbocharged units producing 95 and 115 brake horsepower. The diesel is a 1.6 litre unit and that produces 95 brake horsepower. So the diesel and the 1 litre with 95 brake horsepower are mated to 5-speed manual gearboxes only, whilst the more powerful 115 brake horsepower petrol is mated to either a 6-speed manual, which is what I've got here, or a 7-speed DSG. Now personally, I'd recommend going for the petrols over the diesel, because despite the extra economy you'll get out of the diesel, it's not the most refined engine. If anything, it's very grumbly, particularly at low speeds. These 3-cylinder petrol units that the Volkswagen Group have got are absolute gems. I drove the 95 brake horsepower version in the Arona and I absolutely loved it. It suited the car really well. With this being the FR Sport, of course having the more powerful 115 definitely helps its character, and being a 3-cylinder, it does mean you get that wonderful 3-cylinder thrum coming into the cabin. So I'm doing 60 miles an hour if I'm dropping down to 4th. There's a nice bit of a 3-cylinder thrum there. I'm not sure if you can hear it. And what it means as well is that when you're pulling away from junctions and roundabouts, you've got that little turbo there just to help you, give you that extra spare of oomph to get away from the traffic, and it does suit the car incredibly well. Economy wise, I seem to be hitting around the magic 40. I've not done any long journeys in the Ibiza, but just driving around town I'm getting in the late 30s to early 40s, which is very respectable in a car of this class. Refinement wise, it's actually not too bad in the FR Sport. If you're driving about around town, it feels like any other Ibiza in the range. However, if you are driving on the motorway quite a lot, you will find that because of those 18-inch alloy wheels, there is a bit more road noise intruding into the cabin, particularly highlighted on poor road surfaces. And again, because of those larger alloys, if you go over any bumps or imperfections, they are amplified a bit more into the cabin, so you do hear those crashes and booms a bit more. But for the most part, it is absolutely fine to drive, and if you do drive on any normal road surfaces, then you'll be absolutely fine with it. Ride-wise is something the Ibiza does really well. Yes, with those larger alloy wheels, you do feel the bumps and imperfections a bit more, and any poor road surfaces are highlighted, but for the most part, it does incredibly well. But the sweet spot with the Ibiza is the steering and handling. It's just... oh, they finally cracked it, Seat. I'm going to go around this roundabout here, which is a bit of a malfunction junction, as I like to call it. But it just grips really well. There's loads of feel in the steering, and there's no body roll. The car just does not roll at all. It's an absolute joy. This is a fun little hatchback. I'm genuinely impressed by it. For too long now, the Ford Fiesta has been classed as the best handling car in its class. But you know what? I think Seat have hit the mark. I think they've actually produced a car which handles as well, if not a little bit better, than a Ford Fiesta. And that's immense praise indeed. It's taken a long time for a manufacturer to get there, but they've done it. They've created a fun little family hatchback. Well done, Seat. And just driving around now on this road surface, yes, there's a little bit of road noise, but going over the bumps I can hear them, but I can't feel them. Seat have actually made a brilliant little family hatchback. It does everything incredibly well. So with my time with the Ibiza, I have identified a couple of little niggles, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't to tell you about them. So the first one I've already mentioned is regarding the 18-inch alloy wheels and how they do compromise the refinement of the Ibiza. But that's a really tiny criticism, considering it's only on one spec level of the car, and it's something you get used to very quickly. Secondly, there are no grab handles in here, so if you have got passengers in the car and you do decide to chuck your Ibiza about a bit, they've got nothing to hold on to for dear life. Thirdly, and this is probably the big one, is actually the specification of the car, and actually just the Ibiza range in general. So if you do go and buy yourself a Seat Ibiza, it's kind of like buying a Korean or Japanese car. By that I mean the car is already spec'd out, so you essentially go into the dealership, you pick the spec, you pick the engine, and you pick the colour, and that's your car ready for you. You can't do what you do in, say, Volkswagen or Audi, where you can add additional options and packs to the car and help personalise it and make it your own. Essentially, what you see is what you get. Now, the big surprise for me, and this is probably the biggest criticism of the Ibiza, is actually what you get in the car. So, with this FR Sport, which is over £19,000, you have got the digital display, auto lights, full LED headlights and daylight running LEDs. You've got the dual zone climate control, folding wing mirrors, you've got rain sensitive wipers, but you've got no rear parking sensors. And that was a big surprise for me. That had me scratching my head. For a car that's over £19,000, that was one of the things I thought was going to be standard on the car, but it's not. However, if you go up to the spec level above the FR Sport, which is the Excellence, not only do you get rear parking sensors, you also get front parking sensors and a reversing camera. So you don't just get one, you get everything. And that was something that disappointed me a bit about the Ibiza, is I wish you could spec those things. I would definitely go for reversing sensors. It would just help kind of complete the car, so to speak. But other than that, Seat have made an absolutely brilliant car. The Ibiza has always been the kind of sporty car in this segment, but not the best. However, Seat with this new chassis have really pulled it out the bag. Finally, after so many years of the Fiesta being the best-selling car in Britain, there is now an alternative. You have to look at the Ibiza as well as a Fiesta, because they both ride brilliantly, they both handle brilliantly. Yes, just the specification is possibly where the Seat could lose out in some aspects, but it's a minor one. I mean, where I live in Milton Keynes, we got companies such as Richter Sport, and they can actually retrofit rear parking sensors for you, and they are a VW Group approved company. But if you live outside Milton Keynes, that does mean you have to look elsewhere, and you don't want to do anything that's going to, validate your warranty or anything like that. So that's just something to consider. But in terms of the actual drive, Seat have done a brilliant job with this new Ibiza. It is a brilliant all-round car. I love the engine. I'm a big fan of these 1 litre units, and it is an absolute peach in this, and it does make a nice little burble. If you look at something like the Nissan Micra N Sport, yes, it's got another 3-cylinder unit, but it actually doesn't have that little 3-cylinder burble. You actually have to go to the lower specs engine in order to get that. So it's just little things to look at, but all in all, this is an absolutely brilliant car. I love the FR Sport, and this would probably be my pick of the range because of everything you get with it, and it's kind of priced just right, and I would probably spend a couple of extra £100 and get myself some rear parking sensors. But other than that, this is absolutely brilliant and spot on, and Seat have got an absolute winner on their hands, and it goes to show brilliantly how Seat have not done away with the Ibiza, hence it's been its longest running model, and long may that continue. This is a brilliant little car, and I do really like it. Hey there everyone, so I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Seat Ibiza FR Sport. As always, hit that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and hit that bell notifications icon to let you know when I, the Auto Bear, bring out a new video. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, so don't forget to follow on there for additional content, including live videos and still images. And if you have any questions about the Seat Ibiza and my time with it, don't forget to put them down in the comment section below. But guys, I hope you have a great day and hope you have a wonderful time, and I will catch you all in the next video. Take care.